The Oscar-winning actor married me despite his first love. For 3 years, they were caught in a tangled relationship. During filming, they would embrace and kiss, and in interviews, they spoke in suggestive tones. Online, people say I'm just a pathetic substitute. I never got angry. I simply smiled and helped him dispel every rumor. Until one day, I accidentally got pregnant and secretly had an abortion. He was furious and heartbroken, harshly demanding to know why. I gently caressed his brow and replied calmly, because I don't love you. The one I loved was his deceased brother. Everyone knows Declan married me to make Nora Carter jealous. They broke up before their wedding, and she left the country in a fit of anger. Declan didn't chase after her. Instead, he turned around and married me. I wore a wedding dress that wasn't meant for me and married a man who didn't love me. People said that when Nora came back, Declan would discard me. But in the 3rd year of our marriage, Declan seemed to start liking me. He made breakfast for me, coaxed me out of bed, and kissed me when I acted playfully. At our sweetest moments, we were deeply entwined. In the quiet of night, he would softly urge, "Sweetie, give me a child, one just as sweet as you." We were like a typical loving couple, until the day I found out I was really pregnant. Before I could tell Declan, Nora came back. That day, they reconciled. Nora returned on the day of their class reunion. I heard her family went bankrupt, and she was borrowing money from everyone. When Declan walked in with me, he saw a wealthy classmate pressuring Nora to drink. He said for every glass she drank, he'd lend her 100,000. Nora's eyes watered as she forced a smile and drank it all. When she saw Declan, she panicked, feeling embarrassed, and quickly lowered her head. Someone egged her on. "Nora, if you're short on cash, ask Declan. Given your history, a few nights with him, and he wouldn't deny you anything." Declan glanced over coldly and said slowly, "Stop it." With a cigarette dangling from his mouth, he leaned against my shoulder and continued, "Anyone who upsets my wife can shut up and leave." Everyone laughed, calling me sister-in-law, envious of Declan's affection for me. No one knew that if Nora hadn't shown up, Declan wouldn't have been there. Nora glared at me, biting her lip to hold back tears. The man who had forced her to drink kneaded her shoulder and asked, "What now? Looks like Declan doesn't want you. But it's okay. If he doesn't, I do. If you're willing to undress and please me in bed, I'll give you some pocket money. How about that?" Declan stubbed out his cigarette, visibly displeased, his face icy. He still cared. Nora fought back tears and looked up at Declan. She softly said, "I don't want to. In this life, I love only one person. Even if he doesn't want me, I won't let anyone else touch me." Declan suddenly tightened his grip, hurting me. The male classmate, having lost face, laughed and cursed Nora. "You think you're some pure maiden? Damn, you don't appreciate the kindness. I'll definitely sleep with you today." He dragged Nora outside, Nora drunk and weakly leaning against him, struggling half-heartedly. Declan's eyes were fixated on Nora. I could tell he was ready to kill for her. Just before they left, Declan couldn't hold back any longer. He stepped forward, kicked down the man holding Nora, and pinned him to the ground, beating him. With reddened eyes, he cursed, "If you dare touch Nora again, I'll cut off your filthy hand." The scene became chaotic. Someone was recording, and I quickly grabbed Declan's sleeve, trying to stop him. He turned around and coldly asked, "Who do you think you are to interfere?" I froze, lightly releasing my grip. Nora rushed over, hugging him, crying, "Declan, don't fight for me. If you get hurt, I'll be heartbroken. I was so scared just now that you would really leave me." Declan didn't push her away. He held her in his arms, protecting her. Everyone watched as he took Nora away, leaving me behind. That night, Declan didn't come home. Nora tweeted in the early morning, "You said you'd never hold anyone else's hand again." The picture showed 10 fingers interlocked. The hand in the photo had a red mole on the back, Declan's, and I was the someone else he wouldn't hold hands with again. 10 minutes later, the tweet was a trending topic. My haters left messages for Nora. "Go, Nora, you and the Oscar-winning actor are a perfect match. You must get back together." I'm throwing away my values. I support the Oscar-winning actor cheating. Just can't stand that scheming witch. Lydia, being happy. Many were waiting to see me humiliated. Some left messages for Declan. "Bro, that's not you, right? I've been your fan for so long. I know how good your wife is to you. Don't let her down." Declan and I were tied to many couple endorsements, the sky-high penalties for breach of contract. A scandal was the last thing we needed. The agent couldn't reach Declan, so they called me, asking me to find a way to fool the netizens by saying Declan and I were still together. I flipped through the photo album and realized how few pictures I had with Declan. In those few pictures, only I was smiling. Finally, I posted a photo from long ago of Declan reading under a lamp. The hazy light enveloped him, reminiscent of the person who always appeared in my dreams, making me cry. As soon as the photo was posted, netizens began commenting, "See, Declan's at home with his wife." Anyone saying our Declan's cheating, I'll tear their mouth apart. Everyone started cursing Nora for being shameless and loving to stir up drama, until a few minutes later, Declan retweeted Nora's tweet. Under that hand-holding photo, he said, "It's me." He openly admitted they were together, exposing my self-directed clarification. Once again, he abandoned me for Nora. Nora's fans flooded my Twitter, mocking me. Pretentious B*TCH got slapped in the face. "Love it, Lydia, you lying B*TCH. Sister Nora gave you 3 years, and you still couldn't win Declan's heart. You're useless." Who said I wanted Declan's heart? I deleted everything in my phone related to him. I wanted a divorce. The next morning, the company called me in to handle Declan's rumor crisis. Unfortunately, I ran into Nora. Declan probably couldn't bear to leave her alone and brought her along. As soon as she saw me, she apologized. "Lydia, sorry about last night. I got drunk and tweeted nonsense, and Declan joined in, causing you trouble. I've already told him off. He only thinks of me and not you at all. Such a big dummy. The things people say online are so harsh, calling you my stand-in. It's hilarious. They don't know how much I want to thank you for taking care of Declan all these years." She smiled sweetly at me. I smiled back. I'm Declan's wife. A wife taking care of her husband doesn't need thanks from outsiders. But you, being called the other woman last night, don't take it to heart. Nora's expression changed. She glanced me up and down, suddenly fixating on my ring. She smirked. "Lydia, you're wearing my wedding ring. You should return it to me." She reached for my hand, and I, annoyed, swung my arm, accidentally hitting her face. Nora suddenly swung her bag at me, the metal scraping my my forehead, drawing blood. She used so much force, it made my ears ring. I raised my hand to hit back, but someone grabbed my wrist from behind. Declan appeared, coldly warning me, "Lydia, try touching her." When I turned, he saw the blood on my face, paused, frowned at Nora, and asked, "Did you do this?" Nora, with teary eyes, shook her head. "Declan, she called me the other woman and tried to hit me. I dodged, and my bag accidentally hit her. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry." When she cried, Declan's heart ached. Hearing her, Declan ruffled her hair, praising her. "Anyone hits you, hit back. With me here, you don't need to apologize to anyone." I suddenly envied Nora. Actually, I'm quite the crybaby too, but the one who cared for me is gone. Agent Fiona couldn't take it anymore, and pointed at me, yelling at Declan, "This is your wife. Declan, are you blind?" Holding on to a green tea witch, and not letting go. "How is Lydia any worse than Nora? Did you forget you said you wanted a child with Lydia? Did you forget you said being with Lydia felt like home? Now you're hurting her like this. Are you sure you won't regret it later?" I subconsciously touched my belly. Inside my body was a budding child. Declan chuckled, casually glancing at me, emotionless, speaking calmly. "Lydia, Phoebe, Cora, they all need to step aside." Perhaps, at one time, Declan's feelings for me were fleeting and superficial, but now that Nora has returned, he's ready to love her. I removed the ring from my finger, a ring that was never truly mine, and handed it back to Declan. His smile slowly faded. After a brief pause, he reached out to take it. Aunt Hazel caught my arm, glanced at my stomach, and gave me a meaningful look. "Lydia, don't be foolish. You're all ready." Nora interrupted, grabbing the ring. She tried it on, but it was a bit tight. Her smile stiffened slightly, and she tossed the ring into the trash. "Forget it, Declan. Don't be upset for my sake. I don't want a ring that's been worn by another woman. It's tainted." Declan ignored her, keeping his eyes on me as he asked in a serious tone, "What's going on with you?" I looked at him indifferently, then turned and walked away. "Declan, I'm pregnant, but you don't need to know." Declan is extremely perceptive. Aunt Hazel's hint was obvious enough. I think he can probably guess most of it. I've been on medication for a long time, which isn't good for the baby's development. This pregnancy was unexpected, and the doctor suggested I terminate it. I don't want to be entangled with Declan because of this child. Before the abortion, I moved out to avoid running into him and causing any trouble. Although, Declan probably doesn't care at all. He didn't come looking for me. He's still living his life as usual. Aunt Hazel sent me a video. It was at an auction where Declan gave Nora a lavish diamond ring. She laughed and threw herself into his arms. A perfect match. "Oh right, I almost forgot." Declan said Nora is back. Whether it's Nora or Nora's child, they all need to step aside. It's all fine. The day before the procedure, I suddenly felt very anxious. I remembered the jade pendant my mom got for me before she passed was still in the home safe, so I planned to go get it. When I got home, I found the entry code had been changed. Standing at my own front door, unable to get in, I suddenly felt quite pathetic. I called Declan in anger, but the one who answered was Nora. Her voice was smug as she laughed. "Nora, today's my birthday. Declan insisted on taking me to watch the meteor shower, so we won't be home tonight." I once told him that couples who make a wish on a shooting star will be together forever. I didn't expect him to remember. "I'm so happy, but I can't give you the code. After all, we're not home, and it's not appropriate for someone like you to be in our house." I hung up immediately, opened the password lock, and entered today's date. The door opened. The code was Nora's birthday. Inside, all traces of my life were erased. Our wedding photo on the TV cabinet was replaced by a photo of Declan and Nora. They looked so young. Declan was holding her, both smiling happily. My succulents were thrown out, pots and all. My study had turned into Nora's piano room. I was stunned for a moment, then rushed into the bedroom and opened the wardrobe. It was filled with a line of sexy lace nightgowns, none of which were mine. The safe was at the bottom. I pressed my fingerprint, my hands shaking, and took out all the jewelry, cash, and documents inside. But I couldn't find the jade pendant my mom left me. It was the only thing she left me. Nora knew that too, so she threw it away. Nora has always hated me and my mom. When I was in school, my mom worked as a nanny at Declan's house. Nora came over with her parents, and when they first met, Declan's parents introduced me, saying I was obedient, sensible, hardworking, and smart. Nora pretended to be friendly, saying she wanted to be friends with me. Behind my back, she said, "So what if she studies well? Even if she gets into a good university, she'll still work for us." Her mom is annoying too, always smiling. What's a nanny so happy about? Old miser giving birth to a little miser. It's disgusting. When my mom picked me up from school and met Nora, she would laugh and call my mom AB*TCH in English. My mom, not understanding, would praise her for being pretty and cute, even giving her homemade sweet potato snacks. Nora would turn around and throw them in the trash, mocking my mom, saying, "It smells. Even a dog wouldn't eat it." My mom was so flustered, her face turned red, and she couldn't lift her head, which made everyone around laugh. I threw down my backpack and went to pull Nora's hair. My mom saw me getting hit and rushed to shield me. She got kicked over by Nora's friend, and suddenly a lot of blood flowed from her. That day, my mom was diagnosed with uterine cancer. Those horrible cancer cells appeared silently, then quietly took my mom's life. That jade pendant was something my mom secretly prayed for me, bowing step by step up Ling Mountain before she died. She said the Buddha on Ling Mountain was the most powerful one. I held back my tears and asked her why. She smiled and said it was a secret and couldn't tell me. But I knew she prayed to Buddha when I was seriously ill as a child. She wished to exchange half her lifespan for my health and peace. Later, I got better. The compassionate Buddha took my mom away. After Nora found out, she mocked my mom, saying, "All the poor know is superstition. What's the use of leaving garbage behind? Better to sell a kidney or liver for some money for her daughter." At 2 in the morning, Declan came back with Nora. As they entered, Nora clung to Declan's neck, purring, "Declan, will you sleep with me tonight? I want to give myself to you." As she spoke, she leaned in to kiss him, but Declan dodged. I sat on the sofa, watching Nora act shamelessly. Declan's gaze landed on me. Nora paused, turned back to see me, and smiled provocatively. "Nora, if I'd known you were home, I would have asked Declan to come back earlier. We didn't see any shooting stars tonight. He was afraid I'd be disappointed, so he insisted on taking me to set off fireworks." "Nora, I'm sorry. If you want to blame someone, blame me, not Declan." Declan. I had a bit of alcohol, feeling drowsy as I stood up and approached her, directly asking, "Where's my jade pendant?" Nora blinked guiltily, still smiling. "Are you talking about that jade pendant from the safe? I accidentally broke it while packing. It didn't seem valuable, so I threw it away." My tears fell suddenly. A chill spread through my limbs, and my lips trembled uncontrollably. My mind filled with the afternoon my mom died, holding me tightly and wiping away my tears repeatedly. She told me not to be afraid, that she wouldn't leave. She said she had already spoken to Buddha. As long as the jade pendant is here, so is Mom. I threw the wine glass at Nora. The glass shattered on the marble, and shards cut her leg. She was scared, took 2 steps back, and hid behind Declan, pitifully crying out, "It hurts." I grabbed her collar, hysterically asking, "Where did you throw it? Where did you throw it?" Declan came to stop me. I slapped him, cursing, "We haven't divorced yet. Why did you bring her back? Why did you let her touch my things? Why? Are you that desperate to sleep with her? Declan, aren't you disgusted?" He held me tightly, soothing my hair, overpowering my voice as he said calmly, "Nora, calm down. I'll take you to find your jade pendant, okay? Please stop crying. It hurts me to see you cry. Nora threw away my jade pendant this morning, so